Hello, this is Tony Hiller from RealClimateScience.com. Al Gore was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize on December 10th, 2007. He said the world was spinning out of kilter and predicted the Arctic would be ice-free in 7 years.
Another new study to be presented by U.S. Navy researchers later this week warns it could happen in as little as 7 years. 7 years from now. In the last few months, it has been harder and harder to misinterpret the signs that our world is spinning out of kilter.
Let's take a look at what's happened since Al Gore made that solemn prediction more than 16 years ago. According to the U.S. government, 2023 was the world's warmest year on record, by far. And 9 of the 10 hottest global years on record have occurred since Al Gore made that prediction in 2007. The U.S. government also says that the Arctic is the fastest warming place on Earth. According to a 2022 study, the Arctic has warmed nearly 4 times faster than the rest of the world over the past 43 years. Based on this official U.S. government information, the ice in the Arctic must be gone by now. So let's take a look at what's actually happened since December 10th, 2007. The ice hasn't disappeared, rather Arctic sea ice extent has increased. The minimum last year was higher than 2007, and Arctic sea ice extent has continued to increase into this year. 2024 extent is shown as red in this graph and is 4th highest for the date in the past 20 years. The lowest extent of the last 20 years occurred in 2012 and wasn't much lower than 2007, shown in turquoise. At no time did the Arctic ever come anywhere close to being ice-free. This graph shows the minimum Arctic sea ice extent for every year since Al Gore made the prediction in 2007. There isn't the slightest indication that the Arctic is going to become ice-free at any time in the foreseeable future. Al Gore's prediction was wrong, and the claims of record heat over the last 10 years don't make a lot of sense in terms of what Arctic sea ice is doing. If Earth has been having the hottest years on record and the Arctic is the fastest warming place on Earth, why has Arctic sea ice extent increased over the last 17 years? But instead of the expected corrections in mea culpa, we get the exact opposite. Instead of apologizing for being wrong and misleading us, the people pushing this scam have simply pushed the date back. On June 6th of last year, the New York Times said Arctic summer could be practically sea ice free by the 2030s. This is similar to an article which the New York Times wrote in 1958. Some scientists estimate that the polar ice pack is 40% thinner and 12% less in area than it was a half-century ago, and that even within the lifetime of our children, the Arctic Ocean may open, enabling ships to sail over the North Pole. Although the idea that a solid ice sheet covers the central Arctic has lingered stubbornly in the popular fancy, the northern cap of ice worn by our planet is actually a thin crust, on the whole only about 7 feet thick. So in 1958, Arctic sea ice was about 2 meters thick. And now, more than 65 years later, Arctic sea ice is still about 2 meters thick. And the New York Times is still predicting an ice-free Arctic within the lifetime of our children. Ice doesn't lie, but climate scientists and the press do. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on this scam for almost 16 years. You can visit him and his family on the web at realclimatescience.com.